I don't know how smart it is for Jacob, who's supposed to be undercover, to be having these secret meetings with his wife. I don't know how that keeps him undercover. But what do I know? I guess it keeps him and Naomi undercovers, though. What is up, everybody? It is Monday, which means another week of Beyond the Gates, although only 3 episodes this week, which is probably a good thing because the writing has been letting us down time and time again for what feels like months now. And how did the show decide to start this week? Well, with a stinker of an episode. And Trash was not even on today for there to be such a stench with today's episode. But yeah, the failed character of Vanessa was not on. But the failed character of Leslie was on to be a cartoon character today, quite frankly. They seem to be making her more and more of a cartoon each and every month on this show. It's a shame. We'll get into it. I think I want to start with the Naomi stuff and the show deciding to start the episode with something that was clearly a dream slash a nightmare where Naomi woke up in bed with Jacob gone. And then she gets a visit from a frantic Dani who got a call from Elon, and Dani tells Naomi that Jacob is gone. Jacob's cover was blown. There was a drive-by shooting. He was gunned down. It was obviously a nightmare, but it still just felt like the show wasting our time. I would have preferred it to not be a nightmare because at least something would have been happening on this show. They have to stop with these fantasies, these dreams, these daydreams. They do it like once a month, I feel like, as of late. Maybe not quite as often, but pretty often lately. But like it makes their stories seem extra boring because things happen in these fantasy scenes and then you go back to the regular storyline and nothing's happening. So it is a very dumb writing decision, in my opinion. In reality, Naomi woke up. Jacob was still there. Jacob is still sorry he's putting Naomi through this. I don't know how smart it is for Jacob, who's supposed to be undercover, to be having these secret meetings with his wife. I don't know how that keeps him undercover. But what do I know? I guess it keeps him and Naomi undercovers, though. Jacob again was saying this might be the last time they see each other for a while. But it just felt like these scenes were scenes we've already seen. I mean, we saw that the last time they were supposed together, they had that moment where Naomi was saying, why does this feel so different? Why does it feel like the last time we're going to be together for a while? Well, here we are a few weeks later, and they're having the exact same scene. It would probably be less irritating if the show just moved some of their stories along. But as a lot of us have been talking about in the comments, as I talked about in my Sunday video yesterday, it seems as though the show likes to stretch out their storylines, but the problem with doing that, it's not like they climax well. No, they just kind of go nowhere. And I am feeling that way with this Jacob undercover storyline. They need to raise the stakes. In the end, Naomi arrived at the hospital to see Ashley to tell her worries about Jacob and what if something does happen to him. And Rashad, aka Jacob, called Ren and told him he wants to pick up some extra time. Maybe they are building to something happening to Jacob. I don't know. Something needs to happen to raise the stakes in this undercover storyline, though, because for something that's supposed to be exciting, it's falling very flat and boring. Then the other storyline was Leslie today. Like I said at the beginning, kind of becoming more and more of a cartoon character. Madison and Chelsea started this episode together for wedding brainstorming. Dani and Kat later arrived. They were all chatting together at the country club, planning the wedding for Chelsea and Madison. While Leslie was also there with a wedding planner who was talking about possibly giving Leslie the country club for a wedding. Which wedding, you might ask? Well, Eva and Izaiah's, even though they just started dating. In some way, I guess maybe the show is trying to show us that Leslie has no life and no friends. She is that maybe that's why she is just bothering everyone every single week on this show with no rhyme or reason. But to me, it is a writing disaster. In fact, I would go so far as to call it embarrassing with the writing. Because what happened was, let's just be real for a second. What happened was when the show first started, Leslie and Eva were very popular. And the storyline was good, so of course they were going to be very popular. I think the writers saw that and decided they needed to get a way to keep Leslie on the show without her going to jail or something, which they could have just done any different kind of way. But instead, what we've gotten is they have turned her into a comedy character more so than an actual villain. And I think it's actually just a waste of Trish Mangrant's talents, because I think it would be far more meaningful for her, but also for the show, if there was actually some substance behind her character and her character's motivations. But for weeks now, Leslie's just going around being annoying with no rhyme or reason. And it's frankly embarrassing writing. So today, the big thing for her to be irritating was to overhear Madison, Chelsea, Dani, Kat talking about a chapel that they wanted to book for a certain weekend for Madison and Chelsea's wedding. Leslie overhears this, tells the wedding planner she wants the same chapel for the same dates to get to it first. And then she continues to listen to them, Chelsea, talk about what she wants for her wedding. And Leslie is demanding the same exact things. Is this just Leslie once again being obsessed with the Duprees and wanting to be like the Duprees? I don't know, but frankly, I don't care. Why are we bringing Leslie into a Chelsea and Madison storyline randomly? Doesn't make sense, and frankly, it was not good today. It just felt very filler. Eva, meanwhile, started the episode with Izaiah. Izaiah was half naked. Eva was horny, I guess. Izaiah didn't want Eva to go to work. I think they kind of agreed to just let Eva call in an hour late so that they could stay behind for some sexual time. But after that, they were looking at all of the wedding magazines that Leslie keeps bringing by. Leslie ended up interrupting them on the couch when Eva had to go to work late, but then Izaiah and Leslie had a conversation. Izaiah was telling Leslie that he really likes her daughter, but right now Leslie is making it hard for Eva to breathe. She's being overbearing about this wedding stuff. They just started dating. He kept saying that Eva doesn't need Leslie planning their future. She needs space to live it right now in the present, which I thought was good. You know, I liked Izaiah in these scenes with Leslie. I do feel like someone has needed to tell this to Leslie about Eva. Ted certainly doesn't do it. So it was good for Izaiah to do it, I guess. He said that if he and Eva take that next step and want to get married, she will be the first to know. Leslie said she will cool down with the wedding plans for now, but by the end of this episode, it just made this entire episode feel filler, because it was kind of random for Leslie to be involved with the Madison and Chelsea stuff and making their day annoying by planning the exact same wedding for Chelsea and Madison. Didn't love it, to say the least. And the only other storyline on today was equally as bad. Nothing really worked today, I'm going to be honest. They started this week as bad as they possibly could have, coming off weeks of us being frustrated with the writing. Carlton stopped by Nicole's office. Carlton was talking to Nicole about how he would love to go on a double date with Nicole, even if that meant he had to go on a double date with Joey Armstrong, which... fine, whatever. Where these scenes fell apart was when Kyle ended up interrupting Nicole and Carlton planning a date. Hearing about the double date, Kyle came by to get his watch that he left at Nicole's and made sure to talk about this in front of Carlton. And this was just what I thought it would be in the preview that I talked about yesterday. How I felt like in the preview they were writing Carlton and Kyle as like high schoolers fighting over Nicole. That's exactly how the execution was in these scenes. Nicole wanted them to stop bickering, brought up the basketball game, and I think Carlton's sore wrist and Kyle's sore elbow. She said she's a grown ass woman who expects the company of grown ass men, and she won't waste her time on them if they keep wasting her time. I don't know. Nicole was upset with Kyle's stunt. Carlton, throughout the rest of this episode, continued to act like the mature, patient man. But I don't think these things did anything good for this Nicole, Carlton, and Kyle triangle. If you're going to have this triangle and it's going to be for Nicole's sexual awakening, and it's supposed to be this mature storyline for an older woman who's newly divorced to have a sexual awakening, let's try and write the guys in it as actual adults too, because turning the triangle into a high school love triangle, we should be seeing that with Samantha, not with Nicole, Kyle, and Carlton. So a very tough start to the week for Beyond the Gates, and frankly, I don't expect these next two episodes to be much better. Maybe Wednesday. I don't know about tomorrow. We'll see. Only two to go this week, though. I'm usually hopeful at the end of these videos. I try. For weeks now, I've been saying at the end of my videos, hope so-and-so happens in the next episode. Hope it's a good episode next. I mean, frankly, it can't be too much worse than today was tomorrow's episode. But the way the writing has been, I don't actually want to say that because it could be. It actually could be worse.